Your Ohio State Buckeyes are set to play in their first road game in 2022 tomorrow in East Lansing. The Buckeyes and Spartans are set to battle it out tomorrow on ABC. What can we expect when these two teams meet once again on the football field? We'll discuss that today, right here on Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Friday, October 7th in the year 2022. And today's episode is brought to you by Underdog. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code Locked On and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. I would also like to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will go over questions that I have. Some of you may have some of the same questions about Ohio State as they are set to face the Michigan State Spartans tomorrow. And also, I will tell you why I believe the Buckeyes will cover the spread tomorrow. For all of you that are looking for some betting advice, you can get it right here. But before we get to that portion of the show, the Buckeyes are set to face the Spartans tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Ohio State is looking to continue their undefeated season, which will also make them be bowl eligible with a win tomorrow in East Lansing. Sometimes things get a little wacky in East Lansing. At times you may think, ooh, is the weather going to be a factor? How will the Buckeyes perform on a non-turf field? And all of those things that go into the first road game of the season. With most of the fields you play on are turf, of course, grass, a little bit different than the field in Ohio Stadium. The weather as it stands right now going into tomorrow's game, the forecast is 55 degrees at kickoff. There is sunshine. There is no precipitation in the forecast. Now, it might be a little windy, maybe 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, maybe a little bit higher than that at times. But the sunshine is great. The weather, temperature, fine. It's football weather, baby. Let's get on the field. And the first question I have about Ohio State is centered around this being your very first home game of the season. First road game of the season. You have 5 games at home, 2 of them against lesser opponents, G5 schools. You played Notre Dame week 1, was a top 5 matchup going into it, where you've all seen Notre Dame is not that good this year. Wisconsin, not that good, just fired Paul Chryst. There are other schools that Ohio State has played. Just played Rutgers. Rutgers is Rutgers. They're not that good. Ohio State's level. And so we all know how Ohio State is. We know Michigan State is not having a phenomenal year. They're not that school that is doing certain things Ohio State is doing certain things that other schools are not. So Ohio State doing phenomenal things. Michigan State is not doing phenomenal things. But being the first road test, and a lot of the guys that are starters at Ohio State, this is their first time getting consistent clock at Ohio State, but consistent PT, and it's their first or playing time. And also, some of the guys, they've been around for a while, but maybe they have not played in East Lansing at all throughout their tenure at Ohio State. So the first question I have going into this game, how will Ohio State perform during their first road game of the season? Now, there are numerous factors that go into a road game. How will you get there? What will you eat? Either on the bus, if you're eating on the bus, what will you eat prior to getting on the bus? What will you eat for your pregame meal? If you have the same meal before every game, it's your first road game. How will you get that pregame, the day before meal, your dinner before the game? How will you get that? Your pregame. If you eat and drink certain specific foods and fluids before the game, the day of the game, well, how will that happen? A 4 o'clock kickoff. First time that's happened all season. We have had a 3:30 kick, numerous 7:30 kicks. I believe there was a game at 12, I believe. So there's numerous things that are different with this game. Now, the transition from 3:30 to 4 is not that different, not that drastic, but it still is a difference. How will you get from the hotel to the stadium? Who is booking the hotels? Now, you may say, Jay, these are all things that go into road games. And then when you got the coaches and you're out of your normal element, your first time coaching at Ohio State, maybe you've never been to East Lansing, maybe you're not sure about the fans and what to expect once you get there. New surroundings for everybody, a different playing surface. This is grass tomorrow, not the field turf at Ohio State, which is different for players, even though I am an advocate for more grass fields because it's safer for players to begin with. Hey, it's a different surface, so it's just something else you have to deal with. But also, you got guys like Donovan Jackson, Matt Jones. Donovan Jackson, first-year starter. Matt Jones, I don't believe he started a game last year, but played quite a bit. But still, he's a consistent starter. How will they perform in their first start in East Lansing coming up tomorrow? Mayan Williams. I mean, how is he going to look? I love Mayan. You guys know my thoughts about Mayan Williams. But if TreVeyon Henderson comes back and he's healthy and he's RB1 on the field and in the game, that's a little different wrinkle versus last week. What about the receivers? Does Jackson Smith-Njigba come back? We're going to discuss him in the very next segment. What about on defense? Mike Hall. Zach Harrison, is he going to continue to play the way that he has all year? The guys in the secondary. Is Tanner McAllister going to be back? Will Denzel Burke get back to his old playing ways? Cam Brown, Jordan Hancock, will they be available? I mean, there are a lot of things. You have youngsters. Sonny Styles, who's been on the field way more than I thought he was going to be during his freshman year at Ohio State. How will he perform? There are a lot of ifs. Go to the coaches. Do coaches kind of change their philosophy? Do they call things different? What happens? And that's my first question. How will the Buckeyes perform in their first road game of the season? My guess and your guess is probably that the Buckeyes will be just fine, that the environment will not be too big, that nothing going on here will be too wild for them. They will be just fine. And I think they will be just fine. But I have no idea. I cannot definitively say that I know exactly how the scripted plays on offense will go or how the Buckeyes defense will be when they come out, that they'll force a 3 and out, that Stroud and the offense will be just fine, that Stroud will get back into his groove that he was in earlier this season. I literally don't know, and I have no problem admitting that I don't know, and I'm not going to make a definitive statement or a declaration saying this is going to happen or this is going to happen. I'm not doing that. I believe they'll be fine. But I can't definitively say and pinpoint exactly what is going to happen. How will the Buckeyes perform in their first road game of the season? That is TBD, to be determined. What's not to be determined is the questions that we have going into tomorrow's game. I got 2 more for you. We'll discuss this, and we'll keep rolling with today's show right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to spice up your college football season. The easiest place, I say, because Underdog Fantasy makes it easy to get started and easy to play while you're watching your favorite team play. We all love easy. Some of us like to put our money where our mouth is, and Underdog Fantasy allows you to do that right while you're watching the game. It's easy to play and available in over 30 states. Just pick between 2 and 5 players across any team, not just the Ohio State Buckeyes, but any team, and decide if they will finish higher or lower. You can pick stats, you can pick different variety and a combination of things, and you decide what you think is going to happen. One of the easiest fantasy games to play out there, and you can win cold, hard cash in a single game. Guys, it's way easier than you think. You can sign up with the promo code Locked On. That's one word, LOCKEDON, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, get $100 free. Where can you sign up, that is, and use that promo code to double your first deposit up to $100? Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play Store. Once again, that's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. Locked On Buckeyes, along with the other shows that are part of the Locked On Podcast Network in the Cleveland area, are available on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. As part of Locked On Sports Cleveland, more great local sports coverage 24/7, and it's free. Download the Locked On Sports Cleveland app today on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. So I went back and looked at some numbers, not really like analytic numbers, but more so scores and outcomes of games over the past few years. Ohio State's currently on a 6-game winning streak against Sparty. The last loss, the 2015 season. That was still one of the more painful losses in my fandom with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I still remember where I was. I still remember the reaction I had when that kicker, the idiot kicker at Michigan State, did the windmill action as he kicked the game-winning field goal, the walk-off field goal to win the game. I still remember that. But since that point in time, the Buckeyes have not lost to Michigan State, and they have not scored less than 26 points while playing Sparty. Also, since that game, they scored 17 points the following year, the 17-16 game in 2016, and then 48 points in 2017, 26 they scored in 2018. The past couple of years, as Ryan Day has been the leader at Ohio State, Buckeyes scored 56 points against Sparty, then 52 points the year before that during the COVID year. The Buckeyes win the series. They're in the lead of the series, 35-15 against Michigan State. That's the all-time series record. And I went back. I told you I looked at some numbers quickly. Since Ryan Day has been on the Ohio State coaching staff, the Buckeyes have scored a total of 216 points. That goes from the 2017 season all the way through last season's game. During that same time period, during those 5 games, Sparty has only scored 38 points. So the Buckeyes are averaging 43.2 points per game with Ryan Day on the coaching staff at Ohio State. And then Michigan State's only averaging 7.6 points per game when they play Ohio State. So you really want to say, I missed a year. Those numbers are not accurate. Forgive me. Yes, they are. I was going to add in the 2016 year, but that was not when Ryan Day was at the school. So since Ryan Day was at the school, like I said, Buckeyes have scored 216. Michigan State scored 38. And the Buckeyes said there's a wide difference. There's a wide change in the margin of victory during that time period. Now, since Ryan Day has been the head coach, the Buckeyes scoring average per game has gone up. But Sparty is averaging 2 more points per game, still less than 10. Ohio State coach Ohio State football teams coached under Ryan Day are averaging 47.3 points per game against Sparty, while the Spartans are averaging 9.6 points per game when they're playing a Ryan Day coached Ohio State football team. Now, as the numbers have gone up under Ryan Day, and 47.3 is the number that they're averaging with Ryan Day as the head coach, the second question is this: how fluid will the offense be if Jackson Smith-Njigba returns tomorrow? Now, we all know when we discussed it yesterday. If you have not watched yesterday's episode, go back and check it out with Matt Sheehan, the host of Locked On Spartans. Him and I go back and forth, get a little bit of the Spartan look at things, look at a little bit of the Ohio State look at things. We both share our prediction about how the game will go, score prediction and things like that. So even though the scoring has gone up for Ohio State, and I still think the Buckeyes offense will be fine tomorrow, if Jackson Smith-Njigba returns, and all of a sudden we're looking out and saying, JSN is back. JSN's phenomenal. And Njigba is a guy that we can lean upon if we need to. But he's been nursing a hamstring injury. We know how tricky and delicate those things are. We don't want to rush him back. We don't want to hinder his recovery. We hope the rehab is doing its job. And if you try to get him back in and say, hey, get your feet wet, play a little bit, be on a pitch count or a play count, great, because we have a bye week next week. The following week, the Buckeyes play Iowa. And then the second road test of the season is against the Penn State Nittany Lions on Halloween weekend, October 29th. That's a few weeks from now. So really, we could get him a little play. We could rest him next week, get him a little bit more play, not have him play the whole game, and hope he's back to full strength by October 29th. We don't know. That's a great plan, but it's a hamstring, and baby, you don't know what's going to happen. My guess is they will have to hold him out. But if he does play tomorrow, and I would love to have Jackson Smith-Njigba play again tomorrow, I truly wonder, how does the offense look? I could add more to this question, and I don't want to right now, so we're just going to stick with one player, and that's JSN. How will the offense look? Because I know one thing. I know how it is through 5 games. and you get comfortable with the play calling. You get comfortable with your role in the offense. You're starting to solidify and make a name for yourself, make a mark for yourself in the offense. You're good in this area, so-and-so is good in that area. I understand all of that. But here's where things get tricky to me. Imagine a player, I don't know the number of targets, the average number of targets each player has throughout the season right now. I don't know that, but just hear me out. So let's just say Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nick Buka, they're used to getting 8 to 10 targets a game. Now, those targets, that number might be a little high, but let's just say, just for conversation's sake, they're used to getting 8 to 10 targets a game. Okay, great. That's not a bad number, 8 to 10 targets. That's a lot of passes, but let's just say that's where they are. Then all of a sudden, Njigba comes back and those targets, not catches, but simply the looks you're getting in those targets, all of a sudden, instead of going from you averaging 8 to 10, all of a sudden in this game, you're getting 5. And let's say over the past couple games, you've been over the high end, so you've been closer to 10 or maybe above 10 to average out 8 to 10 targets. But now you're only getting 5 targets between Ekbuka and Harrison Jr. That's going to play with your mentals, buddy. That's going to play with you. Yeah, I know your buddy that's been hurt is back in the field and is balling out. But all of a sudden, I wonder, how does that affect you as a player on the sideline or even in the game when you get a target during a crucial moment in the game? All of a sudden, you're like, I'm not going to come off the line as quickly. That's hard. I don't want to block as hard. I don't want to do my job. I want to do my job, but I want to do it half-heartedly. These are all realistic things that we are humans, and when we get accustomed to certain things and the things we are accustomed to get taken away from us, all of a sudden, baby, things get a little fishy. Now, I'm not saying this is how the players are going to be. I am just saying I don't know how the humans are going to react in this moment. I would love to think they're going to be just fine. They're Ohio State players, and they have done a phenomenal job with Njigba on the sidelines, but we don't know. Imagine Cade Stover, who's been the ultimate team guy. One of the ultimate team guys. Imagine Stover, those multiple touchdown games he's had and 4 catch games where he just, baby, he get open. He get the rock to him, and he's country strong. So it's going to be really hard to take that bad boy down. Imagine if he gets no targets. Well, he'd be fine. Imagine if Mayan Williams says, hey, he finds out Henderson's not going to be playing. Man, bet I got 20 carries in me, baby. Let me tote this rock at 150 and 3 tugs this week. All of a sudden, no, that's 12 carries, not 20. That's 75 rushing yards, only 1 touchdown. Hey, I get it. These are things that that could happen, but you want to try to work in a player like Njigba back into the fold. Hey, I get it. I understand it. I don't know. I think the offense will be fine, but this is just one question that I have going into tomorrow's game. One more question, and then my thoughts about why Ohio State will cover the spread. We'll close out shop here. Next, right here on Locked On Buckeyes. At the conclusion of tomorrow's show will be the first Locked On Buckeyes postcast of the 2022 season. Right here on the YouTube page, exclusively live, will be the live Locked On Buckeyes postcast. Just 3 thoughts at the conclusion of the game. This will not eliminate or erase our regularly scheduled Monday episode, where I will still do the same things that I have done after every Ohio State game, where I recap the game and discuss certain things that stick out after that game has been played. So subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on YouTube. Hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Also with that bell, so you are ready to be when this show goes live. You can watch it on your computer, your phone, your laptop, your iPad, your tablet, your TV. Watch it wherever you are. If you want to take a selfie while you're watching it, put it on the Twitter. Tweet at me at jsteven07. Let's have fun. And I do anticipate the show being fun as we discuss a Buckeye win tomorrow in East Lansing. One more question for you. This one, 2 weeks ago, was Tommy Eichenberg that fit this conversation. Last week, it was Still Chambers and Zach Harrison who fit this description. Last question I got for you. Who will shine on not offense. Offense came out. There was a D because it's supposed to be defense. Let's backtrack this. Defensive players and offense came out. Forgive me. Who will shine on defense? That's the question I got for you. Will it be Tuimoloau? Will he have a multiple sack game? And will he start to make a bigger name for himself? Will it be Jack Sawyer, who has played well Could be playing better. Could it be Mike Hall? I don't know. Could it be Sonny Styles? Will he be the shining star on the defense in the backup role? Will it be Ronnie Hickman? I have no idea. But who will shine on defense? Peyton Thorne's a good quarterback. And I know you look at the numbers, you look at the play. We heard it yesterday and discussed some things about why he is playing the way that he is this year. Peyton Thorne's good, man. And we know if this game's like anything like last year's game, the Buckeyes will be up early. And the next thing you know, you got to rely on your quarterback to get the ball down the field. Which is why I'm asking, who will sign on defense? I keep wanting to say offense. Who will sign on defense? Because somebody's going to have to. It may be multiple players. I'm saying who, because, I mean, it could be three. I have no idea. But we simply have to wonder who it will be that shines. Who is your guess? Leave it in the comment section below. Who you think will shine for the Ohio State defense tomorrow? Also, I'm going to start trying to use the community tab on the YouTube page. I've done it before, haven't done it in a while. So we will try to get back to that. There'll be questions and polls that'll be up there, and you'll be able to quickly see some more of my thoughts and different opinions I have just to get some different feedback here on the show. Who will sign on defense? That's to be determined. I would love for it to be the linebackers, Eichenberg and Chambers, as they continue to move up in the Big Ten landscape, national landscape. Will both of them or one of them be named an All-American at the end of the season? That's to be determined. But ultimately, I want to know who it will be. Who will sign on defense? I'm watching and looking to see who it's going to be, who steps up in a big way, because somebody's going to need to tomorrow afternoon. Now, some of you are wondering and waiting, Jay, this betting stuff. This betting stuff. What are you thinking? Okay, I'm going to give you advice on two things. The Buckeyes are currently 27-point favorites via our friends at BetOnline.net. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern against the Michigan State Spartans. The over-under is currently set at 65.5. And I'm going to tell you why that 65.5 number is a little bit tricky. So I have no problem saying the Buckeyes are going to cover the spread, and the 27 points. Yes, correct. 27 points is the Buckeyes are our favorites right now. I even said on yesterday's show that the early betting line was 25. Buckeyes are 25.5-point favorites. I said it would probably end closer to 26 to 27 points before kickoff. And what do we have? What do we have here? I believe on the show when I was met with Matt Sheehan, it was at 26.5 or 26, then closer to 26.5. We're at 27 now at the time of this recording. Recorded this on Thursday evening. About to get off of here and go watch the Colts play the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. I don't even bet. I don't bet at all. That's not how I want to utilize the funds that I have. But I will say, I do understand why the spread keeps getting larger. And if this game was playing 3 weeks from now, I think the spread could move to 30. I could see that happening. I have no problem saying that. I know I made a comment. I said I could see this game being 59-9 as the final score. 52 to something is probably going to be there as well. As I look over the past few games the Buckeyes and Spartans have played, as Ryan Day has been the head coach, Sparty scored 10 points in 2019, 12 points in 2020. Last year, they only scored 7. So I think that I don't think they score a touchdown. I think it's 3 field goals. And I do think the Buckeyes hold their first opponent to under 2 single digits in 2022, which is huge. Those are the things you want to happen going into the bye week. But here's where things get a little bit interesting. As I say 59-9, I'm doing math in my head. That's 68 points. Now my gut says go with the over. The over-under set at 65.5. But as we all know, if you're that close, my 68 to their 65.5, if you're that close, move cautiously. This would not be something I would bet on. I would bet on the Buckeyes covering the spread of 27 points. I would not put my money on the over-under at all. But if you're feeling adventurous or froggy, whatever you want to describe, and you want to, hey, Jay said his scores predictions 59-9. Let's go ahead and do that thing. Okay, great. Do it. But remember, I advised you not to. Michigan State's not that good. They're not that good at all. They're not. Without Kenneth Walker III, some other players they had last year, there are some holes there. They have some good players at different spots. But I still think this is a blowout. They annihilate, demolish, destroy the Spartans tomorrow in East Lansing in Spartan Stadium. Guys, I'm out of here. The game's on. I'm about to turn on my TV. TV's off now. About to turn it on to watch the Colts. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on the Apple Podcast app, Odyssey app, Spotify, or wherever you get your fine podcast. Locked on Buckeyes is free and available across all platforms. Follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send your emails to Twitter, jstevens07. Gmail, I'm not sure what's going through my head. The email address, jstevens317 at gmail.com. Buckeyes and Spartans play tomorrow. You boys about to watch some football. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and get ready for a fun afternoon of Buckeye football. Go Bucks!